Okay, math practice quiz number 13. We're given a cone. A couple things to keep in mind. The moment you're given a shape that has a thickness to it, or a 3D shape, like a cone or a sphere or anything like that, you should be thinking volume right away, or how much space is inside that shape. The only other thing they can ask you is surface area, which doesn't come up as often. So we're given a cone. We know we're talking about volume for two reasons. Number one, they tell us it holds a certain amount of water. If we're being told a certain amount of water that can be held by an object, that is a volume. That's the definition of volume. The other big thing here is cubic inches. Anytime we're talking cubic inches, cubic feet, cubic yards, that is a volume. You can almost think of a cube or an ice cube. How many ice cubes can you fit into a refrigerator? That's volume. So we know we're talking about volume. We know we're talking about a cone. At this point, we would stop, go to the math formula sheet, which is given to you, find the volume for a cone formula, write it down exactly as you see it. What I did here is I put my little multiplication symbols in between just to stay organized. But that's the first thing I did here. So I know we're talking about a cone. I know we're talking about volume. I copy down that formula that is given to me step by step. I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay, moving forward. We're being told that it holds 12 cubic inches of water. So they're telling us the volume. They're saying, we've already done the arithmetic here, and we're telling you the total amount of volume that fits in the shape is 12. So our next step is 12 equals, and we're going to work out the rest of the arithmetic here. One thing I like about this formula is something you can almost always do is, we've got 1/3 times pi. As you may know, pi is 3.14. If you were to punch this in your calculator, 1/3 times pi, and they do have fraction instructions on the back of the math formula sheet, you always come up with an answer that's pretty close to 1. Nice thing about that is, what you can do almost every time, just cross that off. It goes away. 1 times something is always just something. So that's going to go away. I'm going to bring down r to the second power times height. So 12 equals. Now, be careful here because they give you the diameter, which is 3. If we need to turn that into the radius, which we do, we're always going to cut that in half or chop that in half or divide by 2 in your calculator if you're uncomfortable. So if 3 is the diameter, the radius is going to be 1.5. So 12 equals 1.5 to the second power times height. And height is what we're looking for here. They're asking us, what is the height? Now, if you want to finish this up algebraically and you're comfortable with that, go ahead and do so and you'll be done. Let's pretend for a moment that we're not comfortable with this. Let's see what we would do here. First of all, 1.5 times 1.5. Let's punch that in our calculator. So here's where we are. 12 equals 2.25 times empty box. And in this case, we're given multiple choice answers. 1, 4, 5, or 8. So you can almost finish this up just by looking at it and thinking about it. So we've got about 2 times something will give us 12. Let's look. The 2 times 1, it's going to give us 2. So that's too small. Cross that off. Let's see, 2 times 4 is going to give us 8, something a little bigger than, well, we're getting closer, but we're still too short. Let's look at 5. 5 times 2 gives us 10, but since we have 0.25, that's going to give us something a little bigger, which is what we're looking for. C is exactly what we're looking for here. And if you punch this into your calculator, 2.25 times 5. So if we punch the actual number in and we work it out, we get 11.25, which is really close to 12, the original number we're given. The other numbers in the multiple choice situations do not come anywhere near the number 12. So C is our final answer. I'm going to pause again because I'm going to work this out algebraically for those of you who want to know that or want to see it. But our final answer here is definitely C. Okay, so just to be precise, we're going to take 1/3 times pi in our calculator. It gives us 1.05. We know that 1.5 times 1.5 gives us 2.25 times h. Next, we're going to multiply these two together. We'll punch that right into our calculator. Okay, that gives us 2.36. So we have 12 equals 2.36 times h. So in order to solve for h or get it all by itself, we're going to divide by 2.36 on each side. 2.36. So those two guys cancel each other out. We have h all by itself. We punch this into our calculator exactly like we see it. When we do that, we get 5.08. The question does say to the nearest inch or to the nearest whole number in this case. So rounding this to the nearest whole number gives us 5. And that's how we get our final answer of C, or 5. So two different ways to approach this. Just remember, when you're talking about volume, find that formula right away. Copy it down exactly as you see it. Anytime you're given the diameter, if you need to use the radius, make sure you're taking that diameter number and you're chopping it in half, or you're dividing by 2 in your calculator. So that's number 13.